Hello, and here we are again. The final day of my 3-day challenge. And I know so many of you said that a few people have said to me that they have loved the recordings. And I'm very, very, very grateful that people spend the time to catch up on this after I've done the recordings. I know it takes me a while sometimes to get them downloaded, but you can watch them as many times as you like. You can go over them as many times as you like. They're free out there now for everybody because, as I've said in all of these so far, my mission is to help you go from just surviving to totally thriving. And if I can just change 1 or 2 people in the group to feel that way, then I will be a happy osteopath. So today, I deliberately set out these 3 days to lead in one to the other to the other. There is a method to my madness, as they say. And so confidence is the topic of today. I'm also going to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome, but I'm going to give you some hacks at the end as to how you can get instant confidence. Sometimes we need, don't we? And I'll talk about why we might need that a little bit later on. So confidence and imposter syndrome and hacks, those are the 3 main things I'm going to talk about today. So let me do a little bit of screen sharing. Let's go to that one. Perfect. Hopefully you can see my screen now. Let me just double check. Perfect. So this is a masterclass for tonight, which is about confidence. So I always say this, but I always genuinely mean it. I am very grateful for people giving up their time to come and listen to me. And so I always want to do as much and give as much value as I possibly can in anything that I do. So I'm going to suggest some reasons today as to why you might not be feeling confident and the ways that you can overcome that. Because the more confident you are, the more successful you're likely to become, and then the more fulfilled you will be. Because success without fulfillment is nothing. That's why some of the people that we hear about in the news are miserable, commit suicide, because they are successful, but they're not fulfilled. So if you're feeling confident in your abilities, in what you can do, and in building your practice, then you are going to feel more fulfilled. So we're going to talk about what is confidence. I'm going to give you 4 things, suggest 4 things that are really useful for you to be confident, why it's important in practice. And I'm going to talk about the difference between confidence and overconfidence, because overconfidence is not a safe place to be in practice. And then 4 instant confidence hacks. So that time in clinic when you're really not feeling it, what can you do to feel a little bit more confident? And as always, this is my mission. My mission is to help you to go from just surviving to totally thriving as a competent, confident practitioner, free from the anchors that are holding you back. And I know some of you are already working with me, but my mission is carried out through my support groups, my online courses, my coaching, my mentoring, and of course my book. So what is confidence? Now, if you look in the dictionary, there are so many different definitions of confidence, but I particularly like the one that says doing the things you really want to do despite being terrified. So some people say, I can't be confident. I'm just not confident. I'm not a confident sort of person, because we often particularly in the UK, we sometimes associate confidence with arrogance, and none of us like arrogance. That kind of bulgy person that kind of pushes themselves into the room where you imagine that's confidence, probably just arrogance rather than confidence. So you can have quiet confidence about you. You can just know in your heart that you're good at doing something, or that you just feel confident about doing something. So it's doing the thing you really want to do despite being terrified. Now, sometimes our confidence can get worn down by the accumulation of either comments that are made to us or situations that we come across where we just are either don't feel confident or we're made not to feel confident. So one of the things that frustrates me hugely is when I'm working with my students and my newly qualified, is that they've often been told by tutors, you need to be more confident, but they're not told them how to be. They don't tell them how to be more confident. Confidence is the keystone to where you want to go. It's that belief, it's that feeling that no matter what is in front of you, you can handle it and all will be fine, all will be well. So a belief, if you remember from when we talked about this in day one, a belief is a sense of absolute certainty. It can be opinion, it could be an idea, it could be a conviction, but it's that belief that you can do something. You also need to feel that you are willing, worthy, and capable of doing it. And I will delve a little bit deeper into those three: willing, worthy, and capable. But when I ask in my Survive and Thrive Facebook group, when I get people to when people join, I get them to answer some questions. And one of the questions is, what is the number one thing that you are struggling with at the moment? And you can pretty much guarantee it's either lack of confidence, no confidence, or I don't feel I'm confident enough. I don't have confidence in my skills. So I want to change that for people, because you can be confident, you can develop that sense of confidence just by using some of these techniques that I'm going to be talking to you about today. So I said it there at the bottom: willing, worthy, and capable of doing it. So willing, you want to do the thing that you're not feeling very confident about, but you still have the desire to do it. So this time last year, my two teenagers, who are twins, turned 17, and myself and my husband were teaching them to drive, which is possibly one of the scariest things I have ever done. I don't recommend it to any parent, but they weren't confident, but they increased their confidence by their willingness to go over and do things again and again and again in order to pass that test, which now, thank the Lord, they have done. So sometimes you are going to need to do things over and over again in order to be and feel confident. You do have to be willing to be able to do it. You have to feel worthy. Now, worthy is a tricky one, and I do a whole other talk about worthiness and feeling not worthy, because there are many of us in our profession who don't feel worthy. Sometimes it manifests itself as they don't believe that they deserve the money that their patients pay. And often that's because somewhere in their past, maybe somewhere in your past, someone has said or done something to make you not feel very worthy. They may have made you feel small or insignificant. And sometimes it's not even something that you remember. I'm also an NLP practitioner, master practitioner, as well as an osteopath. And one of the things that one of the techniques that I go through with my clients is getting rid of that negative emotion, that limiting belief of I'm not worthy. And we do there's a particular process that we go through. And it very often, the person that I'm working with, they won't remember when they were made to feel not worthy. Sometimes they do, but sometimes it's just a vague memory in their subconscious. Sometimes it can be very recent, as I was just mentioning about my uni students. Sometimes it's when you're started your training. Sometimes it's when you've just started in practice. But those comments, often not meant necessarily horribly, but those throwaway comments, they've often stuck with us. And they've eroded your confidence, and they've not allowed you to grow. You start to feel things like, well, who am I to do this? Why do I think I can do this? Why do I think I'm going to be able to treat this patient? I've never seen this condition before. Why do I feel I'm going to be able to do that? If your worthiness is low, your confidence is going to be low. And feeling capable. So do you have the skill set that you need in order to feel confident in whatever you're trying to feel confident in? So you may need to find someone to help you with that. Now, that could be this particular technique that you're not comfortable with. It could be that you feel your case history taking or your differentials need a bit of work on. Or it could be that you feel you need a bit more help on the business side, the marketing side, the social media side. We just need to find what it is that we need to improve, find someone that can help us with that skill set, and then we will be capable of doing it. That will make you feel more confident if you feel capable of doing it. There's nothing worse than going into a situation and not having the skills and being asked to do something. And there's a memory that I have which will never leave me, which was many, many, many years ago. I was on a skiing holiday with my then boyfriend. He's not my husband now. We finished not long after this incident, and he was quite a good skier. I was a complete beginner. And he said, "Oh, we don't need lessons, Liz. We can just go up to one of the runs and I'll just show you how to snowplow." And I knew no different. I'd never been on skis before. So I thought, well, maybe a couple of lessons would have been a good idea, but I trusted him. I'll go with it. Well, he took me to this on a chairlift. I then proceeded to fall off the chairlift as soon as I got to the top, which was hugely embarrassing with all these people coming behind me. So that wasn't the best start. And then he kind of went, "Yeah, you put your skis like that and then you just go forward." Well, I don't know whether you've ever skied. It really is not that straightforward. There's a lot more to it than simply bending your knees and putting your feet in that position. So I fell over again and again and again. So I had no confidence in skiing for quite a lot of that holiday. I did have a massive sense of humour failure on the mountainside, as I'm sure you can imagine. But I was willing to. I felt I was worthy of it, but I did not have the skill set. I still am not the best skier. I have to be honest, my husband is half Norwegian, so he's a very good skier, as are my children, but I'm probably the least competent skier, but at least I can ski now. I can do a little bit more than snowplow. So how did I become better at skiing? By doing it over and over and over again. And that's the same in any situation, isn't it? We just need to do things over and over again, and then we will become more confident. It's like anything, like my kids learning to drive last year, like learning to ride a bike, which is the classic example. We don't tell toddlers who are just learning to walk, "You're never going to walk," when they fall over again and again and again. It's the same with us. We will get there eventually if we just practice over and over again. So if you keep finding yourself saying, "I can't do this, I'm no good at this, I really suck at this," we need to find a better way of saying things. That's another NLP technique that I teach, which is changing that way and reframing the words that you use so that you're not hearing that over and over again. Because the external world is never going to give you confidence. Don't get a certificate to go, "Liz, you are now a confident person." The belief that you're confident has got to come from in here. It's got to come from yourself, from your thoughts and from your actions, and what you keep telling yourself about your situation and how likely you are to succeed. And it might be that you keep saying to yourself, "Well, I'm too old to be any good at this. I'm too young to be any good at this. I haven't got enough experience. I haven't seen enough patients. I haven't gone on enough courses." We can all talk about our stories and our reasoning all the time, but at some point, we just have to go, "Enough. I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm going to move towards being a more confident." Because we've all got those stories, haven't we? I could have said when I was halfway down a mountainside, covered in snow, that I was never going to ski again. But I just decided that I wasn't going to let that beat me. And so I made that decision to learn to ski, to do it again and again. Sometimes it's fear that holds us back. It's that fear that we are never going to be any good at something, and it's too awkward, it's too much like hard work, it's too painful. Falling over skiing was certainly very painful. It's too painful to go down that route, so we stop. The human brain is always trying to avoid painful situations, and it's always trying to look for more pleasant, more pleasurable situations. So if we're going to put ourselves in a situation where we don't feel very comfortable, our brain's going, no, 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 this is not right. This is not comfortable. You need to get yourself out of this situation. But that doesn't move us forward. And the only way that we're going to grow is by taking ourselves into new, challenging situations in order for us to become more confident, feel the fear and do it anyway, as they say. So how are we going to do that? Well, if you can remember a time when you felt confident, step into that role. What did it feel like? What did it look like? What did it sound like? And if you can imagine yourself in a particular situation as a confident person, if you remember back to day one, we were talking about, the quality of your life is the quality of your emotions. So if you remember that triad that we had, which had physiology, focus, and language. So we've talked a little bit about the language going, I must stop saying I'm rubbish at this. If we think about the physiology, if you're going, no, I can't do this, I just can't do this, again, that's not the confident position that we want. We need to kind of do that power pose of bringing ourselves up, going, right, I've got this, I'm going to do this. So we had to step into that role of a confident person, and we just need to start working on it. Because what has not being confident cost you? What have you already missed out on by not being a confident or a confident person? We have to work at it. We have to push ourselves out of our comfort zone. And if you remember my story yesterday of going out to talk to the mums and babies, I didn't know what I was doing. I hadn't been taught public speaking. Like you, when you did your uni course, we were basically not taught anything about business, were we, or how to grow our business. So I had no idea how to do a talk. I think I had a few slides in either the IO or the GOSC. But I just did it, and I was willing to do it. My worthiness maybe was a little bit low. Did I have the skills? I didn't have the skills totally to start with, but I knew if I didn't take that step, I was never going to become any better at public speaking. So I did constantly put myself into uncomfortable situations in order for myself to grow. The other uncomfortable situation that I remember putting myself in when I was trying to build my business was, as I mentioned yesterday, I did the mum and baby talks. I also got asked to talk to the Towns Women's Guild, the local Towns Women's Guild. Now, I don't know what the difference is between the Women's Institute and the Towns Women's Guild, but all I know that there was this comedy program with French and Saunders on the television that was about one of these women's groups and all the funny things that they would do. And it was called Jam in Jerusalem, because at the Towns Women's Guild, they always start the meetings by singing the hymn Jerusalem. And if you don't know what that song is, that hymn is, then YouTube it later. So I can remember it was a very weird situation. I live in Cheshire, and we have some hills very close to us, part of the Peak District. We're kind of on where I live in Cheshire. I'm on the border of the Peak District. So it doesn't take very long for me to get up into the hills. And this particular Towns Women's Guild meeting was at a place called Wild Boar Clough. Isn't that a great name? They say Wild Boar Clough, but Wild Boar Clough is how it's spelt. And so the lady who was running the meeting said she was going to meet me at a particular location and show me the way. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I've got a sat nav. I'll be able to find it. She went, no, I will show you the way. Which already made me think, oh, I must be going right out in the back of beyond somewhere. So I go to this car park. We then go in a convoy up and up and up into these hills. I'm very glad actually that she did. She did direct me, because I would never have found it. It really was in the middle of nowhere. Get all my stuff out, get myself set up. And I'm doing a talk called Osteopathy, That's Just Bones, Isn't It? So I get my skeleton out and I get my books, and then I'm about to start, and they all start to sing Jam in Jerusalem. They all start to sing Jerusalem. And all I can think of is this comedy program with French and Saunders called Jam in Jerusalem. And it took me all my time not to burst out laughing, but I managed to get through the talk. And again, like I said yesterday, I got some business from that, because they were all ladies of a certain age. who had aches and pains and creaky joints and grindy hips. And so I didn't feel confident, but I still went out and did it. And it was only by putting myself into that really awkward, really uncomfortable position did I build my business and become more well known and make my, like I said yesterday, one of the tips that I gave was make yourself heard. People need to know what it is that we do. Now, you might not want to go and talk to Towns Women's Guild. That's fine. You may want to go and talk with sports people or a particular hobby or a craft or whatever it is. But you need to, even if you don't feel confident, get out there and do it anyway, because the only way you are going to feel more confident is by going out and doing it. And if you genuinely don't feel confident, borrow my confidence in you that I know you can do it. If I can do it, I don't have a special skill set for being confident as when I first started. I just did it. I knew I needed to get my practice up and growing. I've always had this real desire to serve and to help as many people as I can. And I knew by sitting in my little practice, that wasn't going to do it. I needed to get out and talk to people. So borrow my confidence that you can do this. And if you want to run something by me, please do so. Either if you're a member of the group, run it through the group. If you want to contact me a different way, if you've got some idea or you want me to have a look at something, please do. Most of you will have my contact details. They're at the end if you need to get them again. But be inventive, do something different, get your voice heard, like I said yesterday. So that was a very long way of saying willing, worthy, and capable. So leading on from those three, there are four main areas that we need to apply ourselves to, if you like, in order to feel more confident. And the first one is self-trust, which kind of follows on from what I was talking about in terms of going out and talking to these groups. We have to venture into the unknown. At some stage, we just have to go, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to start. And then when you have started, give yourself some kudos. Like I said on the first night, pat yourself on the back. When I'd done those talks, I mean, I was probably a sweaty mess when I finished. But I was really pleased with myself that I did it, not in an arrogant way, but in a way that made me feel more in alignment with my beliefs and what I wanted from my osteopathic career. Again, like I was said yesterday, one of my tips was being authentic, and that was being authentic to me. So at some point, you just have to trust in yourself and not listen to that little voice in your head that's telling you that you can't do it, because you absolutely can. If I can do it, little Miss Introvert, then you can do it too. And a really good way to keep that self-trust and that self-belief, I suppose, going is to write down what you've done. Write down your achievements. Write down that you've done something amazing like that, and then regularly go back and look over it, because we can't manage what we don't measure. So if you don't write down, you don't remember, and you don't put some sort of feeling or emotion or measurement to something, we're not going to know how to move on from that. So I usually suggest once a week to my coaching clients, once a week. Sundays are typically a good day to do it, but it can be any day of the week. Write down on a piece of paper, in a journal, on your phone, however you want to do it, just your wins over that week. That will improve your self-trust. That will improve your belief in yourself. Skill set. I've touched a little bit on this already. So there are skills that we need in order to master our craft. And the general advice is figure out what the top 5 skills that you need to be the best in your industry and start working towards those. So what might it be in our industry? Well, obviously we need the hands-on, but most of us are pretty good at that. If you're not good at that, or there's something that you want to improve, there's 1,000,001 courses out there that you can go on. What about the other things that we might need? Well, as I said again in the group yesterday, rapport. Look at your rapport with your patients. How are you doing with that? Marketing skills, business skills, financial skills. If there's a part of your business that you don't feel you have the right skill set for, or an adequate skill set for, then go and ask for some help. Go and improve that skill set. Figure out what it is that you need to do. And again, look back on the Sunday. What have you done differently this week? What have you managed to achieve that week? You're again measuring your progress. That is bound to give you more confidence, because you can see, oh, well, I used to think that way, and now that seems like such an easy thing to do. So self-trust and skill set. Social experience. What do I mean by that? I mean that you need to be somewhere where you have to succeed, or you feel really uncomfortable. I have never been ever to a networking group. That is my limitation. I will go and talk to groups, but I for me, the idea of going to a networking group just brings me out in a cold sweat. But that might be something that works for you. I'm told they're great for building business. For me, it doesn't work because I just can't. I just can't do that. But as I've just mentioned, I've put myself in other situations that for me are equally challenging. We need to develop the ability to go beyond our own weaknesses. Go to courses, go to conferences, network if you want to. Often you might feel a bit uncomfortable, you might feel a bit stupid, you might not want to ask any questions. The best way to grow is to be amongst people who are at a further level up than you. So like, if you're always the cleverest person or the most experienced person in the room, you're actually never going to grow. That's why I'm a member of 3 masterminds, all of which the people in are at a higher level than me. I have 2 coaches because they're at a higher level than me. And the only way that I'm going to grow is by constantly being around other people who are more experienced and taking myself up to that level. And it won't be comfortable in every situation, but that's how you grow. And again, journal. Write about your experiences. Write about that situation that you were in, what you did that was really good, how uncomfortable you felt. Sometimes you just need to have one goal. I actually won't talk about that because I'm going to bring that further on. But sometimes in a new situation or a new environment, you just need to go in with one thing that you're going to do. Then that'll make you feel more confident. And spiritual generosity. I think this is probably my favourite, because this goes right to my core of authenticity, which is that you come into any situation in your practice, in life, from a place of service, a mindset of giving, of love, of compassion, of patience, of connection to others. You're stepping into the world as a servant. It's no longer about you. So your attention can't be in 2 places at once. You can't be thinking, I can't do this. I feel really uncomfortable. I feel really underconfident. I'm no good at this. If you can, again, this is an NLP reframe. If you can reframe it to go, I'm here to serve these people. I was here to serve those Jam and Jerusalem ladies. I was there to serve those mums with those crying babies who couldn't feed properly. I'm here to serve them. I'm here to do my absolute best to show them what osteopathy can do for them, what my skill set can do. Yes, I might not be the most experienced peds osteopath. I might not be the best public speaker, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to go out, I'm going to do my damnedest to serve these people to the best of my ability. Then it's not about me, is it? It's not about me. It's about them. It's about what I can do for them. We have to train ourselves to do that. It doesn't come easily. And the hacks I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes will help you with that. But as the great Eckhart Tolle says, you have a mind, but you're not your mind. You don't have to listen to that constant, you can't do this, you're not good enough. And if you are in a situation where you don't feel comfortable, like I mentioned earlier, remember the times that when you are really confident, get that feeling, do a little bit of visualization, because we all now know how amazing visualization is. If it's good enough for people like Usain Bolt, it is good enough for me. And just do a little bit of visualization and remember how you felt in that situation. What did you feel like? What did it sound like? How did the situation feel? And relive those feelings and those experiences, and then take yourself into that uncomfortable situation. It can just be baby steps. You don't have to do talks every week, but give yourself a set of rituals, give yourself something to do if you're going to go into an awkward situation. And that will really help as well. But most successful people have some sort of ritual before they go into a situation. If you see behind the scenes at some of these big conventions that people speak at, usually the speakers have routines that they go through, or musicians or pop stars have some kind of routine they go through before they speak. So mastery never stops. You're truly a master. You're always looking for the next level. That's me. That's why I'm in masterminds, and that's why I try to take myself to the next level. But it's good every now and then to realize you've got a certain level of success and own it. And that's where the journaling comes in. That's where you remember all the amazing stuff that you've done. You write it down, you own it, and you remind yourself, actually, you're probably much further on in your confidence experience than you realize that you are. So very briefly, what stops us from being confident? So good old imposter syndrome. Now, I'm not going to talk in a great detail about imposter syndrome because I do have a whole other YouTube video on imposter syndrome, which you may or may not have seen. But check out there's a 20-minute YouTube on imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is not a thing. It's not a psychological or psychiatric disorder, I should say, not psychological. It's not a psychiatric disorder. It's not a disease. You won't find it in any psychiatric textbooks. It's talked about as if it's a disease, but it's not. It's a belief. It's a belief that we're going to get found out, that we shouldn't be where we are. We've got purely where we are by luck, not through experience or skill, and that you're going to get caught out. And basically what it all boils down to is fear. And as I've said before, if you go through some of the techniques that I've spoken about to get rid of that fear, then you don't need to worry so much about imposter syndrome. I try not to, when people say, oh, I have imposter syndrome, I try in a very gentle way to stop them from saying that, because sometimes when people, it's a bit like with our patients, they're quite keen for a handle, aren't they? They're quite, I need to know exactly what it is that I've got. And sometimes we can be that precise, can't we? But sometimes we can't. And humans have a great desire to have a handle to hang something onto. But if you have the handle of imposter syndrome going through your head, it's quite hard to get rid of it. Oh, I have imposter syndrome. Whereas if you just think, I've just got a set of beliefs that actually I can get rid of by doing these certain things, that's much easier than believing that you have a syndrome. I'm not good enough. We've talked a little bit about that one, haven't we? You know, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. And sometimes we stop trying. And the problem with stopping trying is we don't take ourselves to the next level. As you heard me say yesterday, if I hadn't gone and talked to that baby group all those years ago, I wouldn't still be treating one of the mums. And she came into me in such pain yesterday that I actually have to give myself a pat on the back for having done that talk all those years ago, and I was still able to help her today. And not taking action yet, staying in our comfort zone, being too scared, just not being prepared to go that extra step. And yes, you'll probably cock up. Yes, you may do a talk where you absolutely fall flat on your face. Have I done that? Yes, I have. Have I felt embarrassed by it? Yes, I have. But I learned from it. Failure is only failure if you don't carry on, isn't it? Failure stands for what? First attempt in learning. So it's only by failing and by picking yourself up, dusting yourself off and carrying on that you become stronger. And if I'm being really honest with you, these feelings don't go away. So the fear of public speaking doesn't go away for me. The fear of imposter syndrome doesn't go away for me. Although, as I say, I don't like to use the term imposter syndrome. The fear is still there. It's just you learn how to cope with it better, and you don't let it ruin you, and you don't let it stop you from doing things. So I will still to this day, get those feelings of, who do you think you are to do that? Who do you think you are to write a book? Who do you think you are to write an online course to help new grads? Who do you think you are to put a comment in a particular Facebook group? So my imposter is still in there, but I just kind of go, do you know what? I'm not listening to you today. I'm here to serve. I'm not here to listen to you. And be more Nike. Just do it. Just do it. So what ways I'm going to finish off very briefly because I'm trying to keep to my 30 minutes, although I do seem to overrun a little bit. So breathe and smile. You can't not be confident if you're smiling. Fake it, smile it, and breathe. Remember to breathe. Have a clear intention. So this is what I was talking about earlier. If you go to a party, for example, or you go to a networking group and you feel really uncomfortable, if your intention is, I'm just going to talk to one person, I'm just going to make a connection with one person, I'm going to get one person's business card, that's enough. You don't have to get the business cards from everybody in that group. Reflect and review, as I've said before. Keep a note of how you're doing. Reflective journaling is really, really useful, particularly in our career. And write down your wins. I say that all the time to all my coaching clients. Write down your wins. And remember to step into that time and feel the emotions now as you felt them then. And give yourself a set of rituals. Give yourself non-negotiable habits that you're going to make sure that you achieve every single time. So very quickly to finish off, my 4 hacks for instant confidence. So hack number 1, if you're going to go into any sort of situation where you're not comfortable, just stop, take a minute and breathe. Now, we all know, don't we, as osteopaths, the importance of our breath. And by taking 4 or 5 slow breaths, really breathing down into our diaphragm, instantly calms your mind. Adopt the power pose. The power pose is one of my favorites. So this has been researched by Harvard, and the power pose is where you're standing up, your hands are on your hips, your shoulders are back, your chin is up, you're standing, it's kind of like the Superman pose. So you're standing like that, and you adopt that pose for 2 minutes, and it's been scientifically proved to reduce your cortisol and increase your testosterone. Just 2 minutes. If you look at your patient list one day and you go, oh no, it's that patient, they've come back, and you don't really feel very confident for that patient, do the power pose, or do the power pose before you start clinic in the mornings to get yourself into the right frame of mind. Smile. Smiling makes a big difference. You're fooling your self-conscious that you're feeling more confident. And remember your wins. So if at the end of the day, you're faced with that patient who you always makes you feel a little bit underconfident, remember the patients during the day that you've done really well with, that you've really managed to support and help. And that will help you with that patient who maybe just sucked your confidence a little bit. So there are my contact details. And just very briefly before we finish, I want to introduce you to my online course that I run, because as I said before, I'm coming from a place of service, and I want to show you, let me see if I can bring my mastermind up for you to have a look at. I have developed an online course which you can take through at your own pace, and it's self-directed. Let me just let me share this. Get myself organized in a second. Share my screen. So this is my course, How to Survive and Thrive as a Newly Qualified Osteopath. There's a little trailer there, which just gives you a brief overview of what the course is all about. It's a self-directed learning, and it's modular. So the 6 modules, you can take it at your own pace. Once you've bought it, which is for the absolute bargain price of £299, I've reduced it specifically for you until a week on Friday, the end of March. It will go back up to its full price again. It's 5 modules. I've thrown an extra bonus one in there for you, and you get a downloadable cheat sheet with expert advice on managing that all-important first consultation. And the things that we talk about are how to get started. So I'm specifically aiming this at those of you who are students, or those of you who are in your first sort of 1 to 5 years post qualifying. So let's get started. Talks about how to start thinking about and intentionally living your osteopathic life. Where do you want to work? Who do you want to work for? What sort of clinic do you want to work in? And then creating your best osteo life. So what kind of hours do you want to work? What kind of patients do you want to see? Money, money, money. Now that's always a tricky one, isn't it, in our profession, the money, money, money. But I'm coming again at the money side of it from a point of service. And if you remembered what I talked about in yesterday's talk about solving bigger problems, that will hopefully now not be quite such an issue for you. Your resilience toolkit, unfortunately, there are still a lot of people in our profession who are burning out. The resilience toolkit is in there to help you not do that. And then how do you become the go-to osteopath? These are my tips and techniques over my nearly 24 years in practice that work, that just work, that I do over and over again, because I know how important they are and what a difference they make to our osteopathic careers. So I've put the link in there. I'll put when I put this video in the group, I will post the link to the mastermind group. Go and have a look. If it's not right for you, then maybe you know someone that it is right for. I'm very proud of it, and I say that without arrogance. I say that confidently because I poured my heart and soul into this, as well as into my book, because I want you to be successful. I want you to have the kind of success that I've had through my years in practice. And if I can do it, you can do it too. So that's the end of my 3 days. Thank you so much for those of you who've turned up live. Thank you so much for those of you who have watched the replays. I honour every single one of you. I'm grateful for every single one of you. I don't take your commitment to me, your commitment to watching them, or if you once you've bought the course, your commitment to going through it. I'm always here to support you. Contact me through the group, contact me via WhatsApp, contact me via Mastermind if you're if you're an OsteoBiz Mastermind, and I'm always here to serve you. Thank you so much. Bye for now.